This session, you will learn how to maneuver yourself on free ToastHost. I hope you learn a lot tonight. Our presenter is distinguished Toastmaster Sarah Cheris. She's a marketing expert, educator, publisher, and entrepreneur. She joined Toastmasters in 2017 and achieved her DTM in December 2022, almost a year ago. Sarah had the privilege to serve as District 47 Division E Director and Area 51, the real one, Area 51 Director. Most importantly, Sarah gets to serve and actively gives back to her Toastmaster family. At her club, to our Toastmasters and Dade County Toastmasters, which help her find her voice. I hear that a lot in Toastmasters, and shape her style as a speaker. Today, Sarah will share with us how to manage your club ToastHost website for continued success. Please help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster Sarah Cheris.
Thank you so much, Price. And again, welcome everyone. I'm excited to be here tonight and to share with you about the free ToastHost website. All right. The first thing that I wanted to share is I want to relate with you quite a bit because I also started using ToastHost without knowing what it was or what capabilities it had or where any of the tools were. So for those of you who are brand new to it, it's completely manageable. You'll see, especially the areas that you can customize are very similar to Word in format with the tools that you have available. And for those of you who have a little more experience, we'll do a recap of and revisit a few things that you already know, perhaps share a few tools that you may not be familiar with so that you can take it to the next level. I'm going to be switching, just so you know, the format. We're going to have a couple of different sections. I'm going to present a couple of things in slides so that you know what we're going to cover. Then I'm going to switch over to live demos. And I may not have access to the questions in the chat. So I know BJ is going to be helping us monitor the chat. Say hello, BJ. Thank you. And we'll work together. And the other thing that we're going to do is as I move through the different sections, I am going to ask if anybody has any questions before we move on. We're going to have like a minute or two of questions. If there's anything that we can't get to at that particular time, we'll come back to it towards the end of the presentation. So I definitely want to make sure that everyone gets their points addressed. That's why I was checking, doing a little temperature check to see what you were looking forward to learning the most, and let's have a great time together. In very brief terms, this is what we're going to cover in the general sense today. We're going to see how to request a ToastHost website. We're going to go over the key website settings that are very, very important to address as you're kicking off your website. We're going to talk about membership management, things like adding members to the club website. We're also going to go over the meeting agendas, another section that's called the file manager, and we're also going to go over member tools, time permitting. First, requesting a ToastHost website. For those of you who may not have the site yet, you can do so at toastmastersclubs.org. So it's a different site from Toastmasters International. Just wanted to point that out. Once you go to that link, you're going to see this at the very top of your screen, and you're going to scroll down to the actual application section. I'm assuming our attendees today have chartered clubs, so you will go to this tab, but you have the chartered club website, uncharted, and also district website, which is what our district uses. And make sure to have this information available. You're going to need your district number, your club number, of course, your name, and it's also recommended to use a personal email instead of a corporate email, let's say, in case there are any spam filters or any issues. And once you fill in that information, you're going to submit your request, and then you're going to get a notice and additional information so that you can activate the site. Our first section is going to be key website settings. Within this section, we're going to go over the home page. We're also going to look into meeting details and directions, social links, floater messages, access settings, and administrator information. So now let's go over to our live demo. I have access to a couple of different websites. So I'll go ahead and share you a couple of different examples from the back end, which is what you will be using as a site administrator. All right, and let's go over the different sections. So first we have our banner up here. As you can see, it has the club name and club number. Then we have the main heading down here, and these two areas are customizable, as is this main content area. Depending on how your club wants to manage it, you can either set this up with an image that's static, meaning that it doesn't change within the 6-month period or 1-month period. This one in particular is set up with general meeting information in the section. It has a little bit of text, which can be edited. And then down here, it has the officers. And then obviously that gets updated every 6-month period or 1-month period. And then I also want to show you another example. This one in particular is set up with content only. And the picture for each meeting gets updated prior to every meeting. And as you can see, it also includes the club information, where the meeting takes place. This one is an online club. So it has the Zoom call information, login information, and the Doral page has the address for the actual in-person location. Again, depending on how you want to manage it, perhaps the time. I know time is golden, and sometimes we don't have somebody available to update it every single week. You can choose to manage it one way or another. But my recommendation is to, as the saying says, I'm not going to say the word, but it's the KISS principle. Just keep it simple. Keep it simple and manageable, so that if you need to tweak it before every meeting, whether you meet every week or every other week, it's manageable. We also have here, as you can see, we have this main menu that can be accessed by the public. And then you have a members only section, which you would gain access to when you log in as a member. We also have our social links, and then we also have a couple of sections that are added by Toastmasters International. So now we're going to log in as site admins. So this is where you would log in to access the back end of the site. Let me go ahead and log in. All right. Can you now see 3 tabs here? Okay, perfect. So now you're logged in as an admin. And in order to start making notifications, you can access the admin console a couple of different ways. You can do it by this little pencil icon up here, or you can do it by clicking on this tab here for Launch Admin Console. For this particular session, I'm going to start it up here, as that will help us go in order. The first thing that we're going to cover are the basic settings. We're going to be looking at a couple of different areas here. One thing that I did want to point out, you can choose how you want the display. You can have it very small, which is my least favorite. There's a medium, and there's also a large view. There's also a question mark here, which I also encourage checking out, because this also provides some information that would help you support what we're going to be covering today. And it's kind of like a self-guided type of information. You can click on different articles, different links to know how to update each one of the different areas. And that's something created by the webmasters, like the big webmasters for Toastmasters, for ToastHost. All right, then we're going to continue on to this section here called Select a Module. And again, just to walk you through how we got here, once you log in as an admin, you're going to click on Launch Admin Console, and this screen pops up again. Here, what we control is the club name, and this is the big header. Whatever we modify in this section here would affect this section here. Okay? So if I were to, let's say, put in here test. Another great thing is that as you make the updates, it's refreshed or it's updated in real time. There are no delays. So if I write here test and then refresh this section, you'll see test up here. And then, of course, if you're not happy with the changes that you're making, just click close without saving anything, and it should go back to the previous version. All right. The other area that you're going to update here, and again, this is within basic settings. We have a certain number of tabs here. You're also going to update the description. This is important because this is what's reflected when people Google your club online. So basically, if somebody goes to a browser, can you see my Google page now, my Google browser?
Yes.
All right. So that is reflected right here. And that's why you also want to customize it a little to your club, to your culture. If your club is big on humor, that's something that you want to reflect in that area as well. The other area that you are also going to update is keywords. There are some suggestions down here in terms of what words you could use. But as you can see, it's public speaking, leadership, Toastmasters, confidence training. This one is in Doral in Florida. So it says Doral, networking, events, power, so on and so forth. Just make sure that they're separated by commas. The other area that I wanted to point out is we have the section here called website alias. The way the domains are assigned, if you can see up here, it says 861.toastmastersclubs.org. If you wanted to customize it and personalize it to your club, it could look something like this, datecountytoasters.toastmastersclubs.org. So that's what modifies that particular section. This section here is for custom website domains. You're welcome to purchase a private domain, but it's encouraged to use the default that ToastHost assigns. It's just easier to manage. Otherwise, obviously, it takes a little more in the setup process. All right, now that we're done with this section, let's go on to the home page. And this is where we update the header section, and we also update our main content area. Anything that we update in this section here would modify this area in the header. And again, you can have different messages. This one says, join us at the venue. We meet from this time to this time. It's free, just show up. This one, for example, says, welcome to Dade County Toasters, a Toastmasters International Club, meeting details below. And again, you can modify it to your club's culture or to that message that you want to convey at a quick glance. And this, again, is also updated in real time. So as I make the change here, we'll see it reflected here as well. And again, that applies to all the changes that you make. The next thing that we're going to look at is the main content area. Again, this particular site for this club chose to have a graphic that doesn't get updated. And this area here is set up a lot like Word, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. As you can see, you have the copy format function, you have copy, you have paste, you have insert graphic. One of the things that you're going to use the most is adding text. Like, for example, to add text, I would just put in here, let's say, test for the ToastHost workshop. And this is one of the things that we're going to use the most, especially if you're going to, and I would recommend if you're starting out with ToastHost to maintain this format until you get a little more familiarized with it, and then you can start playing with it. And then, of course, if you have a weekend that you can dedicate to playing with the site and optimize it to your club's needs and culture, definitely do that as well, because you can have really amazing results. All right, now how to modify this section here and give it a little bit of flair. As you saw, I typed just as I would in Word. If you wanted to change the style a little bit, you have a couple of ways to do it. You could select from this section here. And again, just as you would in Word, it could be a title. If it's a subtitle, it would be a little bit different. If you want to use a header, you would use it here. If you want to align it differently, you would use the alignment buttons. Again, if you want to center it, if you want to make it left-centered, right-centered, justified, so on and so forth. You can also play with the fonts. You have different font options available. You can also play with the size. And you can also adjust the color, both of the font and also if you wanted to highlight or change the color of the background. Oh, I made it so small that I can't see it. So you can play with that according to your needs. And again, I definitely recommend finding a structure that works so that it can be easily maintained throughout the different terms. And those are the functions that you're going to be, again, using the most in this particular section. This is the home page. The other thing that I also wanted to show you is how to insert a graphic. As you can see, this one is a graphic. And for that, we would actually come to this icon here. It looks like a little screen, and it has a tiny little plus sign on it. And then as you click on it, let me actually, there are going to be a couple of things. If you already have a site, you may already have some things uploaded in the browser that perhaps you already want to use or reuse, for example. This is a Halloween image, which is kind of appropriate as that's coming up. And you would just upload it. And again, you can use the alignment function. If you wanted to use a brand new image, then for this, you would go to, as you see these different options up here, you would click on Upload, choose File. I'm borrowing from my other club. Give me 1 second. Let me shuffle some things around from my screen. All right, then we send to Server. We go to Browse Server, and then we select the image. And as you can see, it pops up again. And usually by default, it's centered. And then you can adjust it to either the left or the right. And that's how you would upload images to this particular section. All right, let me close out of here so I don't shuffle this. All right. Okay, perfect. So that gets us to update our homepage. The next section that we want to look at is meeting info and directions. Again, you can include this in the homepage, but you can also put it in the dedicated tab. As you can see here, meeting information and directions. And just as we did in the homepage, you would also type in the information you will be using. And you may want to include things like the days of the week that you meet, from what time to what time you meet, the location. You may want to add an image of the venue where you meet. That would also help visitors find you with more ease. And this section is pretty straightforward. Next, let's talk about the social links, and then you would switch over to the social links tab. Here you can insert your different social media profiles. You are welcome to create. If you don't have, for example, an Instagram for your club or a Facebook for your club, you can go ahead and create those, and you would insert the links to those particular pages or profiles in this section. If there isn't a particular social media section available, like for example, Instagram was not available, you can choose to upload the icon and then insert the link, and it populates that for you. And that's what's reflected in this section here. All right. Next, let's look at the floater messages. These are actually little pop-up messages that come up at the very top of the screen. Let me see if I can show you a quick example. Perfect. All right, so this is what the floater message is. And obviously it moves as a person scrolls down. So just to make sure if there's a particular message that you really want to make sure that people see, that's a good place to allocate that. Okay, so those are floater messages. And again, you can put in a reminder on the meeting information. Maybe you have a special event coming up, or you're having a closure in Florida. I know we're exposed to hurricanes. If you're going to put a special warning, we're not meeting this week, we're meeting online because there's a hurricane coming, or we're meeting online because there was a hurricane. This is a good place to put those special notices. If you have a contest, if you have an event, that's also something that you may want to share. Another thing that also comes to mind, which is I think a great thing to mention, is if your club won an award, if you've been President's Distinguished for X amount of years, this is also a good place to put that information and share that accolade with visitors. Okay, next, let's go to access settings. This let's take a mental screenshot of this section here, because as you can see, you have your different club officers assigned to different areas of the site. For example, select officer or officers allowed to access website settings. In this case, we have the president, the vice president of membership, and the treasurer. Select officers allowed to access membership management, president, vice president, membership, and treasurer. And here you would open up this section and select the officers that you want to grant access to for those sections. And once we get to membership management, I'm going to show you where to assign these different roles. And then the next thing, administrator info. If you're the web administrator, this is where you would insert your information. Make sure that this email is not the default Toastmasters Club email. If it's a Gmail, if you have a personal email, that's what you want to put in this section here. And you will receive a certain number of messages. So if you want to create a rule, so it's something that you check in a particular place in your inbox, that's probably a good thing to do, because you will receive different notices throughout the week. But better to receive more than not receive any and have there be a problem. All right, that completes this first section. Wanted to ask if there were any questions to this point before we move on to section 2.
Sarah, I have a question.
Sure.
You could go back to the homepage. No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. The homepage tab under the site admin.
Okay. Yes.
My apologies. So,
Sure.
because it's now setting ours up, there's a default image there. So, can you tell me again how you got the verbiage above the image as opposed to below it? Because every time I go to do it, it's like below it.
You'll see that this little blinking, it's very fine, but do you see the little line blinking? Yeah. Okay, so basically there you can just tap enter and it'll put you above.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. I know sometimes it's the little details, right, that drive us crazy. I feel your pain. I was there too for quite some time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Yes, I don't know. This is Maria from Miami-Dade Toastmasters. Hi. I'm not sure if you showed where to add the photos for the officers. I think it went like kind of fast on that one, or is that in another section?
That is actually a graphic. It's also a graphic.
Oh, the photos. Really?
That's down here. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait. So how did you add that? How did you add an extra page? Because it looks like 2 pages.
It's actually 2 separate graphics. This is one graphic. It has some regular text, and then underneath it has another inserted graphic. These were, I think, created in Canva.
Okay.
So,
got it.
So
okay.
if you have somebody that's creative on your team and they want to put together a graphic, you can definitely use that here and insert it in this little icon area.
Perfect. And okay. I got it. Thank you so much.
And you're welcome. And that's one way to do it. I've also seen some sites. This one used to have it that way. Because you can also have a site or you can also have a tab or a dedicated landing page that has the officer information. So you could do it a couple of ways. And as you can see, they have different information. This one has why you should contact these particular people. And then this one is more of a pictorial, let's say, more of a picture representation of who the different officers are. And again, you can adjust it to what works best. Maybe you have a wonderful picture of all the officers together, and you want to list that and just write underneath a little caption from left to right. These are the people, and these are the roles that they have.
Yes, I have a question. Maybe it's just the limitations of the free ToastHost site, but is there a way to make the images not appear stretched on a mobile device?
On mobile,
like if there are good dimensions that actually looks normal.
You can play. I know what you mean. You can play with the images a little bit and see if that helps, because you can adjust the width and the height here. And just again to show how I got there, you'll click on the image, and then click here on the little icon that has a little monitor with a little plus sign, and then you can adjust the width and the height here. and you can play with it a little bit to see if you find a setting that works for both desktop and mobile.
Got it. Thank you.
That would be my recommendation. You're
Yeah, I
welcome.
got it closed with like 450, but then it looks kind of small.
Well, unfortunately, there are some limitations, but maybe there's like another configuration or something that you can work with. I mean, the only way of knowing is to play with it a little bit until you find the best fit.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Sarah, I have a question. On the main menu, those tabs where it had home and meeting information, I see some clubs have Toastmasters club pictures. Can you add a tab to that section on the left?
Yes, actually, you can create custom sites. If you go to in the same select the module area, there is a section for custom web pages. So if you wanted to create something custom, like for example, it's a little bit outdated, but let me show you this one. Let's see. Media gallery. If you wanted to do something, of course, you can play with it a little bit with the settings, but if you wanted to add, like, for example, an image from a past meeting and then put a little bit of information about the meeting, I think what works best for this type of website with the resources it has available is to have a picture and then have text underneath. So that's one way of doing it. Or the other thing that I would suggest is probably creating a table, and that way you have the picture in a certain area and the text in another area.
How about adding another tab, like under media gallery, you add another tab under that says club pictures?
Oh, you can create in this section here. Just as I did here, let me go back. Within select a module, and this is again in the admin console. In select a module, you will go to custom web pages. And here you can create a page, and you can also select like what order you want it to be in within the menu. If you want it to be above, let's say media gallery, below, all the way at the end, all the way at the top, next to right below the contact information. And you can adjust where you'd like to place it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for the training. I was playing with ToastHost in 2005 with version 1, and then I left it, and I'm interested to do it again now. That's why I'm here. My question was with regards to the branding, the Toastmasters branding, that they became very strict, or as they should, with the new branding. How does ToastHost have a certain palette of colors that you are encouraged to use, or do they not have any controls on that? You just
actually there are. If you go to this tab called appearance, here you can select different colors for different things, for backgrounds, for members only menus, logins. There are some default settings, so I'd probably start with the default settings and then go from there. I know there's a comprehensive branding guidelines worksheet or style sheet in toastmasters.org within the resources. So that's probably a good place to look at things like logos or certain colors, fonts, so on and so forth.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember seeing a lot of distorted logos in different pages that they would make that would not be accepted by Toastmasters International. So that's something that I think has to be probably controlled somehow. But no, that's a good resource that you're pointing out, to look at the color palette on the different sections. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
We are halfway through our time, and we have 3 more sections.
Yes. Yeah, so let's go ahead and continue on. It's a lot of information, so let's go on to our next section. So now we're going to look at membership management. Within this section, we're going to look at how to add a member, how to move inactive members, because you don't want to remove them. You want to keep their history and keep the member. You just move them to a different section, assigning mentors, and also collecting dues. All right, so now let's go back to our admin console. And again, everything's managed here. Within this section, we would go into membership management. Give me 1 second. I hate to see the strange message. Yeah, I think I need to log in again. I apologize. Let me just refresh. All right. So again, we go to Launch Admin Console. Here we go into Membership Management. And this is where we see our member listing. We have several different tabs up here. And to add a new member, you would go to Quick Add. This is probably the easiest way to do it. And it's a little bit guided, but basically what you would do is that you would put in the member information, you put their name, and then leave a space, following exactly what's listed here: name, space, email address, and then space, and then the phone number. All right. And then once you're done with that, you will click on Save. And then what happens is that this triggers an opt-in email. And until the member accepts the email, they will look like this member here. I don't know if you can see that the name is crossed out. And that means that the email went out, but they haven't opted in to the website just yet. And then the event you at some point need to resend that message, because as we know, things go to spam, things get lost, get deleted. You would just click on next to the name of the person. And then from this drop-down menu up here, next to membership tools, you would click on resend opt-in email. And that sends that message out again. Now, to just really quick, if you wanted to customize that message a little bit, you would go to New Member Welcome. Again, this is within Membership Management as well, all the way at the end. New Member Welcome. And this is where you can customize that message. And it's really good as you're doing your onboarding for new members to let them know that the first thing that they need to do is sign up for Toastmasters.org, take the assessment, choose a path. You want to get them started on the right foot as early as possible. All right. So within this section, the other thing that I wanted to share with you is assigning officer roles. As you can see here, we have Alex, our president, and all the membership rows are set up the same way. You have the name, you have the email, you have the phone number, and then you have this section here. And what you would do is click on the little drop down, and here you can assign the member. And as we know, a lot of us Toastmasters sometimes have to wear multiple hats within a club. If somebody's serving a couple of different functions, just go ahead and click on it, because that's how they would receive the messages that they need to receive, as assigned in that other section that I told you to take a little mental picture of. And this is how you make that connection between the assignment of what messages did you receive and which roles the members have taken on. So that section would be, that's where you would select this. And this is really, really important as well to be updated after every cycle. All right, from here, I also wanted to show you how to move inactive members. If you wanted to, let's say somebody decides to take a break or is not renewing for that particular period, you would put a little check mark next to the name of the member, and then you would move the member to former members list. And click save. Make sure you click save after every action, otherwise you lose what you've done. And here you have different tabs that I definitely encourage you to check out. If you have people that are guests, for example, and you want to add them here, there's a feature to follow up. You can note how many times you follow up with them, how you followed up with them, if you want to put in any notes. Different clubs handle it in different ways. I definitely feel it's a resource that's underutilized, so definitely wanted to point it out in case it's something that you want to take advantage of. Here again, you have your list of former members. If you want to add somebody back to active member, you would do the same process in reverse. You would click next to the person's name and then just move to members list. And that would put the person back in the active members list. You have friends and affiliates, maybe people who are visiting or maybe from other clubs that are checking out your club or helping with particular roles. We have Quick Add, which we also saw on how to add members, the new member welcome. And I think for now, let's go ahead and focus on that. I know we have a lot more to cover, so if we have time, we'll circle back to a few other things. But on the most part, those are the features that you will be using the most. All right, the other thing I wanted to show you from here is, let me cycle out. membership dues. This, again, it depends on how your club decides to manage it. Another resource that goes a little bit underutilized, maybe you reach out to members directly, you keep a list in Excel, and that's perfectly fine. But you also have some tools here. If you wanted to put in the information, you can send out an invoice. I know sometimes people request an invoice, so this is where you could provide that. You can also track payments, and you can also send messages based on where people are at in their cycle. So let's say one day you update, okay, who paid cash or who paid check or who hasn't paid yet, which would not be selected. And maybe once a week, you can send confirmations with your updates, and you can also send reminders to renew. So that's another tool that I wanted to bring your attention to. Any brief questions or one or two questions that we can take from this section before we move on?
In the chat, I have Kathy was asking, when the officer list changes, how do you move the member to the top of the list of members so they are together like they are here? So I guess when you were showing the list of the officer, the president, treasurer right there, how do you get them together up there? That's what they were asking.
That's actually, as you can see here, this is obviously sorted a certain way, but as you can see here, it's in order. So once you select you assign the role, it sorts it where it needs to be. Here you have president, VP education, VP membership, VP public relations, secretary, treasurer, and it gets, or as you assign the officers, which is why it's important, they basically move to the top. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is if you have anyone who becomes a DTM, you have to manually come in and add that here.
One more from Distinguished Toastmaster Ernesto. Is the invoice editable? I noticed that it still showed the $45 membership fee as opposed to the new fee that is $60.
Yes, what it is that this club in particular is not using this feature to send out the invoices, which is why it hasn't been updated. It was, I'm guessing, updated earlier, up until earlier this year, but it hasn't been updated with the new fees. But if you go to, let me close out of here and go into dues management, this is where you would update the information. And that in turn would update the other documents. All right. Okay. And we're getting a little closer to our end time. So let me go ahead and move to the next section. Let's look at File Manager. Again, so within Select a Module, you'd go to File Manager. And what this does is that it allows you to update certain things. Like, for example, if you have an onboarding packet or a guest packet, or if you want to give members access to a little bit of a draft on how to be Toastmaster of the day for the very first time, something that's a little more personalized, like here, remember to call for the minute of silence between one speaker and another speaker, just to have something that's available, readily available, or even that generates a link that you can forward right away without having to dig through 50 emails from a past officer group. This is a really good way to simplify those processes. And then, of course, it's not only updating it, but notifying people, just so you know, you have these resources available on the website. But you can select this and actually organize it by categories. To upload documents, you would click on Select File. And this obviously would pull up your file manager, so you can upload the particular document. Here you can select, it says general info because this is being used, but if you wanted to, let's say, call a folder onboarding. And then if you click, that's for members only, let me put it on a public folder. And then if I click save here, this would update this section here. We have our public downloads. And you would have your folder called onboarding in this section. And you can open it up and have and give access to whichever documents are within that section. And again, you can sort this by folders, or you can have everything available at once. You can put in the file name. You don't necessarily have to put PDF next to it. And then the other thing is that you can control the access, whether it's public, members only, officers only, or hidden. And if you no longer need a file or it's updated, you can also click on the little trash icon and delete it. All right, next we have an important section, which is the agenda. And I'm going to go into meeting agendas, and this is within the members only section. Since I'm logged in as an administrator, I have access to the backend, so you have a lot of control over changes. This club in particular, of course, is already using existing agendas and existing templates. The way to create an agenda, you would go to, there are different icons up here. You have this little, there are a couple of things that you can do. Let me show you how to create an agenda first. You would click on this plus sign. You would put in the meeting date, the meeting start time. This in particular, let's say it's going to be a club meeting label. And then you would select your template. And you can customize the template. It's like, for example, as you can see here, there's brunch agenda, club table topics. But to start out, if you've never done this before, you can always go to the system templates. And that's going to give you let's click on, let me just update it. Sorry, 7:30. Okay. You can select your meeting venue. And then no. Okay, so here you would see like a couple of different rules, and you can adjust this. So you could, for example, if you wanted to remove a role or you wanted to move something up or down, especially for club contests, you can also assign who would perform a particular role. And again, you can adjust it to your needs. Alrighty. Let me see.
I don't have a question, but I have an observation because I use this portion a lot. In the view another agenda, if you go there on view another agenda, yeah, go on the drop-down box. Yeah, you can see past agendas. And what I usually do is I just save as a new agenda.
Yeah, you can do that as
I
well.
get one of those, save as a new agenda instead of creating it, because that already has like mostly the format that we use and stuff like that. So it's pretty simple.
Yeah, that's true. And then the other thing that's important is if you wanted to do this too, if after a meeting you wanted to make changes, you can also go back and let's say somebody didn't come in that day or somebody ended up taking a role last minute. You can save that after the meeting and then these show up as reconciled afterwards. That's another little thing that you can also do to manage the agendas and the attendees.
Yes, thank you. The other thing that you can do with that, since we're in contest season, is that you can create specialized venues for specialized agendas for different contests. And once you put all the effort into doing that, then it's there with your website so that you can revisit that anytime you have that contest to come up every year.
Yeah, that's very convenient. Or if you have a special event and you do that every year, it's also helpful. I know sometimes it's good to adjust if you have, let's say, for example, somebody giving a very long speech, like an 18 to 20 minute, or if they're doing a 30-minute session. That way you can adjust and remove the extra evaluators. Maybe the table topic section is a little bit longer. So those are also things that are good to update on the agenda. I just wanted to open it up to some closing questions. I know we're getting a little bit close to the end time. Want to be respectful of your time as well.
Yeah, in the main page, there is a dues, like a dues management thing. We have that in our club where we always have trouble trying to change it, especially when they, I don't know if you could pull it up, if you could pull up, is in the main page. There's a dues management, or at least we have it. I don't know. Go up here. Oh, you guys don't have it. We have a page. I guess somebody created at the time. In the main menu, they created a dues management page, and that gave us a lot of trouble trying to update it with the new fee from ToastHost. Yeah, and we also use like PayPal to pay or a credit card or whatever, and that.
I remember when we set up the pay button from PayPal, what we used is that we uploaded an image and we hyperlinked the image to the PayPal page. And I'd probably suggest doing the things that with the new pay feature in Toastmasters.org, if I'm not mistaken, you do need to be logged in to be able to make payments. If you're making them yourself as a member.
Our club, we charge a fee in addition to the Toastmasters fee. But yeah, I thought you guys had one, but you don't. It's okay. If anything, I'll send you a message privately. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah, for this awesome presentation. I have a question, though, in reference to the menu, maybe agenda. You have the word of the day. Can you please show me or just go over that briefly if you have already gone over it as to how that is added?
That depends. And again, it depends on the club. And here in particular, so this will be in the meeting description.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, again, you're in the agenda, you click on this little pencil icon. And then in the meeting description, you can type in that information here.
Okay.
Like this one, for example, is set up, welcome to our meeting, some meeting information, the graphic, word of the day, the definition, and an example.
Great. Thank you so much.
Andrew?
Yeah, we went through a lot of stuff under appearance, but I did not see the ability to apply globally the branding issues for Toastmasters. In other words, in Canva, you can create a branding guide based upon the Toastmasters guidelines for the different colors, fonts, and everything else. But I didn't see that capability of applying that here. Did I just miss it? Or see, I see they have the different colors that they have, but I don't know if these are the approved.
These, looking at it really closely, this looks like the right Toastmasters blue and the right Toastmasters red. If you wanted to customize specific colors like hex codes or any particular color codes, you could probably enter that here and then select choose, and then that will customize it to the particular color.
Okay.
And some other details, if you wanted to make the menu text a little bigger, if you wanted to adjust certain things, this is the page where you would do that. And of course there are default settings as well. So you can stay with the default settings or you can customize a little bit more.
Can you change languages?
I know there is a feature for, I think it's in the basic settings, where you can enable Google Translate widget.
Yes.
So maybe playing with that might give you an option for another language. And this is within basic settings. Is that helpful?
Yes, very much so.
Sure. Any other questions?
I didn't think I saw where you had done it, but assigning mentors and making sure that the mentors and mentees are up to date on the website.
I will show you where that is. So again, within Launch Admin Console, and we go into Membership Management. And then here, if you click on, there's like a little card icon within Membership Management. So if you click here, you can assign the mentors here.
Isn't there a way that we can see the list of who's mentoring who so that we can make sure that the list is up to date?
I'm not sure if there's a reporting feature. I can definitely look into it and circle back with you. I know I see here, for example, assign member mentors. And if it produces a report here, mentor reports are available via the membership reports tool.
Okay.
So if we click here, that will probably produce, let's see what happens. Yeah, that's where it would be.
Okay.
And you can select here from members under mentors, mentors under proteges, so on and so forth. And you can print the report.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And once a mentor is assigned, will it send them an email and also to the mentee? So they can
There-
speak to each other? What happens when you assign it?
Usually, yes. And I believe it's in settings. Let me see. I know you can assign what type of messages they get, but usually, like, for example, if I sign up for a role, I know I receive the email, my mentor receives the email. Sometimes even the president receives an email, the website administrator receives an email. There is communication. I know we're a few minutes past the time, so thank you so much for sharing the time with us. I can very quickly just show you, if you guys have 2 minutes, if we go back, wrong site.
The bonus session for the people who stay late.
Exactly.
Don't tell anybody about that, because that's not going to be on YouTube.
Let me go to a different agenda. Well, it doesn't really matter, but up here you have these different icons, right? And you can also email the meeting agenda. If you wanted to send reminders, you would click on this first icon. You can personalize a message, and the reports would be in this section here. Sorry, that's for the meeting agenda. The reports are meeting reports. Here we go. So you can select what type of member role report or member speech report, meeting attendance. Not a lot of people use that, so I would probably focus on the other two.
Mhm.
And for example, member speech report, you can print something for all, or you can select members individually and generate that report for them. And you can select current Toastmasters year, historically, way back, or you can select at which date you want to start the report. And then just run download, and then that generates the report.
And scroll down, let me see. No, we can close that.
Mm-hmm.
And scroll down, let me see where the speakers are. So this is what I was talking about right here. When you put you could
Right.
pick your level and you put, all that stuff in there, and you have access to your evaluation and all that stuff. And it keeps track of all that for you as well. You see
And
the
what's important?
introduction?
What's important is to make sure that whether you're updating this on the back end, which I'd probably discourage, you want to make sure that the members understand that, because you have certain tools as an administrator that give you a lot of access, but you also have member tools that are dedicated for the members. So they'd be able to come in and they can sign up for a particular role. They can select, as Price was saying, the path that they're following, the level, and then what that does is that it pulls up the evaluation form that pertains to that particular project. And it's also important that once you're done updating that you click on Save Project Details. Otherwise, you lose the information.
Right. Thank you,
All
sir.
right.
Thank you. Please give Sarah a big round of applause, please. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you, Sarah, for doing a great presentation. I think everybody found something. Even I thought I knew everything about Toastmasters. I find something new.
And I'll go ahead and share my contact info too, in case anybody wants to stay in touch. Reach out to me through LinkedIn. There's also information for my clubs. If you want to come visit, you're welcome. And my email as well.
Get a screenshot going. Get your screenshot of Sarah's information. If you have any additional questions. And yes, if you're interested, we can do an advance or a little bit deeper than the just basic stuff that we covered tonight. We can do another training of that.
And also before we leave, I also wanted to do a special shout out to a couple of other sites that I wanted to share with you. I know we have Davy Toastmasters, so this is their site. If you want to come check what they're doing and perhaps emulate some of their applications. They have, as I mentioned, a horizontal layout of picture content. I had to share that. I also want to share Miramar Bilingual Toastmasters. They did a really nice job here. This is also probably a graphic. and it's a mixture. This is actually a very nice layout. You have a graphic, you have text. The text is formatted. The pictures go fully left to right, which also looks visually looks really appealing. Try to do a couple of those shout outs.
But we had a lot of demand for free toast host tonight, and I'm glad a lot of you showed up. And
Thank you for being here.
yes, definitely. And we'll probably have another advanced ones. Once you figure out how to do all those things, the basic stuff, we can have an advanced one so you can learn a little bit more. I'm very happy that everybody was here tonight.